An issue that is prevalent in education, more specifically in special education, is the usage of standardized testing. Foundations such as the Gates Foundation, the Broad Foundation, and the Walton Foundation have sought to promote the Common Core state standards and high-stakes standardized tests. Foster points out that there is no evidence that the new system of high-stakes standardized tests has served to lessen chronic inequalities. Students within special education, specifically students with severe emotional disabilities, often exhibit test or assessment anxiety and/or escape behaviors. When faced with lengthy standardized testing, these students often rush through or exhibit behaviors to avoid completing the assessment. With that said, how effective are these high-stakes standardized tests in demonstrating what special education students are truly capable of? Are there other forms of assessments that could more accurately reflect what exceptional students are capable of? Though principals are often the leader and major stakeholder of a change initiative, they cannot bring about meaningful change by themselves. Principals leading change must understand the change dynamics within their particular school context and work directly with teams throughout the school to manage the change process. In any school-wide change effort, there are a number of stakeholders who will be impacted, including teachers, students, family, and community members, as well as school partners and district leaders and teams. Other stakeholders in the standardized testing change initiative include, but are not limited to, test administrators, other school staff such as paraeducators, test developers or institutions, and education authorities. It is incredibly important to remember that in order for new systems to be successful, the stakeholders involved in implementation must understand and believe in them. With stakeholders identified, let's take a look at the issue of standardized assessments. Federal law requires 95% test participation, including for the vast majority of students with disabilities. The theory behind this is that full inclusion in testing will drive full inclusion in learning the standard academic curriculum. However, for some students with significant disabilities, state standardized tests are cognitively inappropriate. Annual standardized assessments do indeed hold tremendous value. Standardized assessments let schools follow students' progress closely, and it allows for measurement of how much students learn and grow over time, not just where they are in a single moment. While standardized assessments are not the best in solely identifying the knowledge and growth of students with and without disabilities, they can certainly play a small part. Fair Test 2012 solidifies this statement in mentioning that they believe that standardized tests can be one part of a comprehensive assessment system. Furthermore, there are other methods of evaluating student needs and progress that are more efficient and beneficial for both students and teachers alike. Careful observation and documentation of student work and behaviors by trained teachers is more helpful than a one-time test. Fair Test mentions that multiple measures of student knowledge and skills are the best, most fair, and accurate approach to assessment for all students, especially for students with disabilities. The priority should not be on high-stakes standardized assessments. Rather, the priority should be on high-quality, teacher-led classroom assessments that provide multiple ways and opportunities for students to demonstrate their knowledge and skills. The AFT mentions that special education teachers, clinicians, and paraprofessionals working with students with IEPs should continue to fight for using multiple methods to assess students in order to capture a full picture of the learning process and outcomes by using portfolios, performance assessments, and observations. So how will this initiative succeed? Well, it starts with the leader of the change. Effective change leadership acknowledges and responds to stakeholder concerns as an integral means to achieving the intended purpose of the new approach, changed practice, and improved student outcomes. Bradham 2017 states that change leadership is powering up disruptions to inspire, to trigger, and to sustain change. The disruption sets the stage for innovation and transformation. There are at least 3 principles of change leadership that the leader will need to apply to ensure the success of this standardized assessment change initiative. First, the leader must plan for change from a solid base. It is incredibly important to be blatantly clear about how to change, as well as what to change. When planning a change initiative as large as standardized testing, data and analysis are definitely essential elements as a foundation. Data is valuable, but how we make use of it matters. It is important to have a handle on the strengths and weaknesses of available data and how it can be marshaled in support of the change program. When the data is relevant and convincing, it is a powerful aid to the change agenda. A second principle of change leadership that should be applied is to control expectations about the proposed changes. Stanley, 2006, states that while it is desirable to have high standards in education, they need to be achievable to avoid disappointment within the result. Reality checking is an important element in controlling the expectations about the change. A third, but certainly not only other, principle of change leadership that should be applied to this initiative is to identify those opposed to this change and try to neutralize them. We need to remember that the old hands can claim history and tradition is on their side. It is vital to engage them in early discussion so that issues will need to be addressed and can be identified early. When pushing for change, it is incredibly wise to listen to the critics of the change carefully. As Stanley states, it is no effort. If no effort is made to identify the critics and neutralize them, they can grow in influence and have more success in sabotaging the pathway to change. Leading change is a risky business and challenging. However, not leading change is even riskier because change is a necessary factor in management of all contemporary organizations. What is the hope, then, for future outcomes of changing the way in which students are assessed for their growth and knowledge? First, the hope is to provide fair testing for all students with or without disabilities. Yes, there are different accommodations that can be put in place for certain students. However, standardized tests are often structured in such a way that often penalizes students who may not demonstrate their learning the way in which the test asks them to. This change initiative also aims to stop teachers from having to teach to the test. Fair Test states, a process of sampling from classroom-based evidence can provide richer information, be adequately reliable, and help stop teaching to the test. Collecting and analyzing work that students complete while in class can create not only a more accurate, but a more complete picture of how the student is progressing in their academic learning. Isn't that what we, as educators, are after? I support this change initiative. I am all for a more complete picture of the student's whole growth that provides the best possible insight to what is going to help them succeed and reach their full potential.